Hey guys, welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to talk about. I have no other way to say it, so I'm just gonna say it in a very simple way. We're going to talk about the end of US hegemony. And after all this, after I'm done with this podcast, you will know why. Okay. Now we all know that US and US and Israel basically they launched a coordinated joint attack on Iran. The code name was Operation Rodic Lion by Israel and Operation Epic Fury by the US government's Department of Defense or Department of War. Now, in the first 48 hours, over 1,250 targets were struck, including IRGC, Headquarter, Command and Control Center, ballistic missile sites, naval vessels, communication infrastructure, you just name it, though all the strategic targets were hit. Okay, and in this whole process, Ayatollah Khamenei, actually Iran's supreme leader for over 3 decades, this man also died. He was killed in the strikes along with Iran's defense minister and head of Revolutionary Guard. Now, this is not just about uh, what was the cause or the regime or the radical regime or Iran building nukes or anything. This thing was straight up violation of sovereignty, and I think that this is I would call this is a complete murder, actually murder at the highest level. Now, probably my video may get flagged too, but it is what it is. Now, this thing has opened lots of doors. Now, I'm going to get into all these things, so stay with me till the end, okay? I'm going to get it. I'm not here to talk about the statistics and who is going to win the war, who is going to lose the war, and what not, okay? I'm just only going to talk about the points that actually are very important, all right? So stay with me. Now, coming back to what exactly happened. And what happened to Khamenei actually has created a large problem. Lots of Shia Muslims actually showed up on the streets in support of Khamenei. They were mourning, they were sad over the death of their leader. So now what exactly is going on here? The Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth actually he said plainly that the regime who chanted death of America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel. Now the question really is that is this really about death of America, death to America, death to Israel? I don't think so. Okay, and what all that is about, what all this whole thing is about. Actually, this boils down to $1 million question, and I'm going to talk about that question is the why Americans never attacked Iran. And I actually talked about this thing in 2023, almost 3 years ago, that why Americans never attacked Iran. And there was a very simple reason, and I'm going to explain all that in this video as well. Okay. Now the President Trump on the speaking on the Medal of Honor ceremony, he again already substantial ahead of time projections and this and that. But this war could go for too long, meaning that he doesn't know. That's the reality of it. Okay, the projected actually from the Department of War, the projected timeline is 4 to 5 weeks. But if it lasts for 4 to 5 weeks, then there will be some serious damage. Okay, not to Iran. I can tell you that much. Now, Iran is fighting back. Iran was pretty quiet. They warned, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. But a nuclear deal that America offered to Iran, a civil nuclear deal during the Obama era. They offered a civil nuclear deal, the both parties agreed on it. Then President Trump comes and in his first term and immediately ends the deal unilaterally without any discussion, without anything, just cancel the deal. And then after that, again this time in the second term, this whole drama was done that hey, they're going to sign the deal, let's sign the deal, while behind the scenes they were conspiring about attacking and destroying the Iranian leadership with no plan of exit action. Actually, they had no exit plans. Okay, I mean, personally, if I had to do something, then I wouldn't get into a situation if I don't know how to get out of it. So the whole idea is that you have to have a plan of exit. There is no plan of exit here. Okay. Now, now Iran vowed swift retaliation. Iran launched missile attacks, drone attacks, and this whole thing is the war is right now is so much asymmetry here that you'll be surprised how much Iran is firing $1,000 drones and they are being intercepted by what? $50,000 missile interceptors. And interesting thing is that whenever you fire a drone, it takes at least 2 to 3 interceptors to actually take down those drones. And actually, I made a video on it too. I made a video and I posted it what, a week or two ago, that why Iran, I mean US will not attack Iran actually. And I talked about the calculations on the interceptors and all that. Hey, how that how Israel and US, they're all pretty much running very thin on interceptors. And since they don't have interceptors, so they will be back to the same Iranian situation. Then playing field will be level. So in that situation, if Iran fires its hypersonics and all that, then Israel will be to completely annihilated. So my understanding at that time was that policymakers or the strategists, probably they will not attack. They are just doing this build up to intercept anything that is fired at Israel, along with the hardware that is sitting in the Middle East. Okay, that was my idea behind it, a thought process, I would say. But it seems like that these strategies, then nobody is left, no strategist is left in the White House at this point. Okay, they all these people, they talk about it, but it's just, I think, a whole bunch of yapping goes on, and then they're like, okay, yeah, let's go do this. Now, president who is supposed to rely on all these advisors and all that, seems like advisors have no clue and president have no clue either. Now, so they launched these operations, and now what's happening is that uh, all these bases have been hit: Israel, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, US military facilities in Qatar, Kuwait, UAE, and Bahrain. Now, what's other thing is that's happening is that along with this, because US has asked all the service members to vacate all these bases and all that in the region. And what actually these countries they did is that they put them in the hotels. Okay, and this is why Iran now is bombing all these hotels. And 6 deaths that are there, these 6 deaths are service member deaths. This is basically they are in those hotel attacks. Okay, and Iran is actually claiming that there have been 200 plus deaths, service member deaths have occurred. Okay, now who do you believe? We don't know. I mean, both parties have a completely valid reason to lie about things. Okay, now over 11,000 regional flights have been cancelled, and the Strait of Hormuz, through which 20% of world's oil flows, is under threat of closure. Actually, not even threat of closure. This is closed. Iran has said that no oil will pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, then UN Secretary General and everybody else, they are condemning the strike. Some are saying this wrong and this and that. Lots of all the political BS that's there, right? But the question is that what exactly will be the end of it? What exactly is going to happen? See, already, because US has pointed these interceptors and everything, so all these allies, because of their, the F-15s were shot down and all that, right? And interceptors are failing, they're not doing the job. So these allies are basically, they're not very happy with the whole situation. Even though MBS was calling Iran over the phone, the news is that MBS called Iran and said that, yeah, we are with you, we're not going to allow anybody to use our bases and this and that. But then at the same time, MBS calls President Trump and he's pushing him to actually attack Iran. So now when you're going to do this petty politics, then outcome is going to be severe. Okay, so by the time I'm recording and all these things, then Aramco oil fields have been stuck already. Okay, so today in emerging world order, we are not going to cover the war. All right, we are covering what exactly war reveals, what we are going to learn from this war, and how the lesson that we are learning from this war is going to tell you that American hegemony is over. Okay, American hegemony that Americans created in manufacturing, in alliance management, in forward basing, in strategic credibility, then in the financial architecture, all that was written under American dominance since 1974. So all that will come to an end after this whole thing is over. Okay, and why that is, and why all that is, let's talk about it. Let's get right into it. Okay, so please do like and subscribe, because I've noticed that some of you, not some actually, most of my viewers, they watch the video, they do all that thing, but they never subscribe. The 98% of my viewers don't subscribe. So I will ask you to subscribe to my channel. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost you a penny. But if you really want to track where the world order is headed, if you really want to see where the whole thing is headed, then please do like and subscribe to my channel. All right, and please don't forget to hit the bell icon. All right, so let's go. Let's get started. Let me share my slide real quick. Okay, so Operation Epic Fury Broken Shield, how the current US Israel Iran war signals the end of American hegemony. Okay, now the reason number one, before we get into the reason number one, okay, let's talk about these numbers. Okay, so Operation Epic Fury, actually, if you look into the uh, day 3, I'm just trying to set this thing. Okay, so stay with me. So Operation Epic Fury. Day 3 snapshot is somewhat like this. 900 US strikes in first 12 hours. Timeline is 4 to 5 weeks, like I mentioned earlier. Then this is their President Trump's war duration. 6 US service members have been killed already. 6 plus US bases struck. They are completely destabilized. They're unusable. Nobody can use those bases anymore. Then 11,000 regional flights have been cancelled, and lots of millions of lives have been impacted by it. And they are, in fact, at the risk of losing their lives too. Lots of people are stuck. So it's all matter of time that if something hits something, then people may die. Okay, 3 US jets down by Kuwait's own air defense. That's what at least they are saying. But knowing the technology and all, I believe that that's not the case. It was hit by the airstrike or something, and we don't know the exact story. But 3 jets were down nonetheless. 3 F-15s were down nonetheless. All right. Now, first of all, so out of all these things, when we talk about that U.S. hegemony is ending, the biggest problem that I earlier talked about was what? The interceptors. US does not have that kind of manufacturing power at this point. Okay, America, somehow over the period of time, it was properly planned to kill American manufacturing. They killed the American manufacturing, and now they cannot do anything. They cannot rebuild at a fast pace. Okay, now going into the war. So when US and Israel, they entered into the 12-day war with Iran, then thought 25%, okay, 25% of the thought stockpile was already consumed in the 12-day war alone. Okay, then 1.8 billion dollars worth of interceptors fired in Red Sea ops versus Houthis. Okay, so you have to understand these things that Iran was doing all these years, all this since 2022. Iranians have been very strategically making moves. You have to understand that. First of all, they made this move, engage from Hezbollah in Syria. All right. Then what they do is that they ask the Russians to get out, and even Iranians got out of there too. Then comes your this whole thing, the Hamas war. Then Houthis attack. right? So US fired all those interceptors and everything over there too during the Houthi war, right? Then let's look at some more numbers. Then comes the third interceptor Pentagon procured in all of 2024. Those are only 11. Okay, 11 interceptors thought. Okay, new delivery gaps runs to April 2027. Okay, these are all official sources I'm talking about. This is not just something that these are not just some random numbers that I came up with. Okay, 1500 plus ballistic missiles Iran still holds going into this war. Now, this was a problem that was discussed by Netanyahu, and Netanyahu, Bibi Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister. He saw this problem during the Hamas attack in 2022. What he saw is that these guys, they were firing cheap rockets. Now, if you think about it, right, then the question is there: the why would Hamas just go out of the blue and attack Israel? For what reason? That too with cheap rockets, with no intent. I mean, they know that Israel can counter all those things. They know what will happen after that, right? They know all these things. It's not like they didn't know. The question is that then still, why would they go unless there is a deeper plan? And the deeper plan was very simple, that Iranians, they did their homework, even though from here it doesn't look like that Iranians did their homework, but the reality is that Iranians did their homework. They have been studying the American moves, they have been studying how Israelis operate, they know all these things. In fact, when Israelis say the whole entire anti-Mossad unit was full of Mossad agents, you really believe that Iranians didn't know? They knew it. They were feeding them the wrong information all along. Not wrong information, but the information so that they do get into the war. Okay, that's the reality. That's what actually, at least my assessment is saying, that they wanted this war. They wanted to get involved into all this. Okay, now, so what they have been doing is all this time that they are creating this asymmetry, the financial asymmetry. They fire cheap rockets, $120 rocket, whereas Israel will have to fire $10,000 interceptor to intercept that thing. That is serious economic problem for Israel. That's why they came up with the iron beam concept of firing the lasers. Now, even firing the lasers also is not a viable option, because if the electric grid is hit, then those that becomes electric grid becomes a single point of failure. And for a small country like Israel, protecting the air grid, or sorry, electric grid, is not going to be a viable option. Now, coming back to this whole thing, so the problem with US has been the manufacturing plan. There is no backup manufacturing plan. Now, if you go back into 2024, 2025, you see that even Joe Biden wanted to send some missiles to Iran. Then President Trump was being pushed into sending tomahawks to Iran. Okay. Now, the reality of this whole sending tomahawks to Iran is, sorry, to Ukraine. I'm talking about the Russia-Ukraine war. That is, that US wanted to send, but the Chinese simply blocked the rare earths and the raw material that was required to manufacture more tomahawks. I mean, see, the Chinese manufacturing, Chinese dominance in the rare earths and the raw material that is used to build the defense equipments and all that, and the hardware, is the primary reason why the whole entire global supply chain is being reset right now. India is working on the semiconductors, the AI stacks and all that. They held this largest AI summit. It's all for this one particular reason: to counter the Chinese dominance in this area. Okay, so Americans seriously lack that, and I just showed you the numbers. Okay, now based on those numbers, there are not many interceptors left with Americans. Okay, and the Israelis. Now, so what's going on? 2 of 7 thought batteries deployed to Israel during 12-day war. Okay, the 7 batteries were there, two of them were deployed in the 7 day war. Okay, then US Patriot assets redirected mid engagement in June 2025 to cover Israeli corridors. Okay, the $15 billion Saudi Thought deal, 360 Interceptor, is still undelivered simply because of the backlog persists through 2027. And that, why is that backlog? Backlog is there because of the trade war with Chinese. Now, when you don't value the importance of supply chain, defense supply chain, then we have a serious problem. That in itself is a national security threat. So, so what exactly here happened? So see, they ordered 360 interceptors, and guess what? It's all in backlog. And then if you come back again, and I've been saying this thing on this channel for quite some time, that India had ordered Apache helicopters, GE-404 engines. They are all in backlog since 2014. They were never delivered, and they still want India to sign big deals, major defense deals with them. For what? When you don't deliver, then what deal we're talking about here? So right there is the major manufacturing problem. If you cannot if you cannot manufacture, then you cannot win a war of attrition. Now, here's another thing. Okay, interceptor production priority, replenish US stocks first, Saudi order second. Okay, so they're trying to fill their stocks, and this is what I was saying in my video that I made earlier, that they are out of interceptor, not even out of, say they're running thin on interceptors, and manufacturing capacity is just not there. So I was under the impression that these guys are going to wait until they have enough interceptors and all that to really fight this whole thing. That means that somehow, somewhere, there was a disconnect, and President Trump was actually blindsided with this whole thing. He did not know the actual problem. Now, since you're in there, so the question really is, how do you pull out of it? Or is there a chance to pull out? I seriously doubt that. Okay, now let's look into the further. Okay, so Gulf air corridors entered epic feud within, with no new thought deliveries until 2027. Okay, so what Gulf allies are facing right now because of all this is that all 5 Gulf states formally refused Washington airspace territory before strike. They all said that thing, but then eventually Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Kuwait joined, all taking Iranian missiles and drone fire. In fact, in fact, in fact, I think that this is why they all actually denied it first. Why? Because these type of things are not done without your, I would say, disaster recovery types exercise. Like, you have to first of all test your systems if they are functional or not. This is the primary reason that all these countries do their system testing and all that. There is a reason for all that, right? But here it seems like they never tested all these things, that if they are functional, they're working, if their hardware code or Mac numbers are all correct or not in their firmware, whatever that is. Okay, so I believe that wasn't done. Now, because that was not done, so that's the outcome here. We are seeing damage after damage after damage. And Saudi Arabia targeted US embassy Riyadh, struck by drones Monday. Saudi Arabia were targeted. UAE has been hit heavily. Then Aramco has been hit heavily. And Iran still has almost 1,500 to 2,000 ballistic missiles left, targeting every US host country. And Iran is firing cheap weapons, loitering ammunitions, cheap drones, cheap rockets, until they want actually US and Israel to run out of the interceptor. In fact, those allies too. And once that is done, then Iranians are going to take out their major weapon. When they're all left stranded with no air defense. At that point, playing field will be level. Okay. Now, Pete Hegseth may be saying that boots on the ground. What he needs to understand is that Iran is 3 times the size of Afghanistan, and I don't know the exact size, how much bigger is Iran than Venezuela too. Not to mention the logistics of this whole entire thing. After taking all kinds of beating, I don't think that Middle Eastern allies, so called, they're going to allow you to for any kind of boots on the ground over there. You are going to fight Iran on the Iranian soil. Good luck with that. Okay. So that's also the number one point was the manufacturing problem. Okay. Any country that that wants to be a power, that wants to be powerful, you have to be ready for a long term war. Yeah, your middle military industrial complex needs to be ready. It should be ready for any kind of manufacturing gaps. They need to be ready for all that. But seems like that's not the case in this situation. That's why I said that that's number one reason, because it's visible in the war. Look at Russians. Russians are fighting war of attrition over past what, 4 years now. You can make all the threats that you want to make. You can say all you want to say to Russians that, oh, their economy is collapsing, blah blah blah, all that made up stories. But they are firing weapons after weapons on all cylinders. I mean, they have fought this war of attrition so well that even European Union is out of weapons now. They don't know what to do with Ukraine at this point. If they surrender, they let it go, then they lose the war. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. That after attacking Khamenei like that, hmm, at that like that, what I'm saying, be careful what I'm saying. After attacking Khamenei like that, don't you think that this is giving President Putin, some ideas? Don't you think that is giving some ideas to Chinese? I mean, Israelis always play this card of preemptive attack. What they don't understand is that it goes both ways, right? So the whole preemptive attack and this and that, it can go both ways. And I don't think that Israel is in position to really handle any kind of preemptive attack, to be honest, all right? You can say whatever you want to say, but that's the ground reality, okay? Now, now let's look into the um, second point. Second point is the US bases that are struck across the region. They are completely destabilized, and all the service members have evacuated all those bases. Okay. Now, if you look at it here, so you see this. All of that air base in Qatar, it has been hit, it's gone, confirmed. CENTCOM, 10,000 troops struck by missiles plus drone directed, confirmed by Qatar's Ministry of Defense. Okay, the naval support activity, Bahrain, US 5th Fleet headquarters, it's gone, kaput. Okay, struck Saturday, smoke over Manama. You have to go and look at the satellite images of it. It's gone, it's completely gone. Okay, then United States Air Force major hub, joint UAE base targeted by dozens of missiles and drones, Dubai airport, bomb struck, all these things, they are all hit. Okay, it's all gone. All right, then comes your Kuwait airport terminal hit by drone. Then 3 US jets accidentally downed by Kuwait air defense. Then all ballistic missiles intercepted. They are saying that all ballistic missiles intercepted, but uh, I don't know if they fired the ballistic missiles, quite frankly. I think that it's all just the drones. But okay, let's go with that. Let's go with the ballistic missiles, okay? Then US and coalition have previous Tower 22 attack killed 3 US troops. Okay, this is another one. This Mossad air base in Jordan. Okay, then Al Salem air base was hit in Kuwait. Okay, then US embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia was also hit, struck by drones Monday. US State Department issued depart now advisory for 15 Middle East countries. Okay, they are saying that just get out of there. And that's what happened. All this kind of damage happens not because um, you are bad or anything. It just simply shows you the capabilities that there is no air defense. Your own bases are getting hit. Your own service members are dying. For what? But we are not going to get into the philosophy of all that. I already said what I had to say. But this is the situation. Okay. And At this point, if this continues at this rate, these are the signs, these are the signals. Okay, the US radar also in Qatar was destroyed, US CENTCOM radar, everything is gone, meaning that there is no air defense at this point available in those regions. Okay, and even if whatever little bitty here and there left, I think those things will be handled by Iranians by firing few more drones here and there. Okay, now at this point it seems like to me is that strategically, if you start to think about the whole thing, the Iranians knew that their time is coming. Somebody's sooner or later going to attack them. Okay, Iranians knew about it. That's why I think that all the Hamas attack, then Hezbollah in Syria, then uh, Houthis in Yemen, all those things were done just to make sure that the American air defenses and the interceptors, they are gone, just to exhaust all the hardware. It was properly planned and thought through. Okay, now let's get into the next point. Okay, now I want you to know this, that those air bases and all those things are hit. What do you think is going to happen after that? You really think that um, in fact, lots of Saudi officials have shown displeasure uh, that Americans simply left them stranded over there, because all the missile defense systems are programmed to defend anything headed towards Israel. So they're not very happy about it. So my question to you is this: do you really believe that after all these bases are completely gone, destabilized, do you really believe that Middle Eastern countries will allow US to rebuild those bases and allow them to enter those bases again? You guys really believe that? I seriously doubt that. Okay, I seriously doubt that. And if that happens, and when that happens, that will be the end of the whole entire SDI that was started by Ronald Reagan in 1983, or around that time. That was under the Star Wars program, the Missile Defense Systems Strategic Defense Initiative. Okay, then missile defense system actually was the extension of the Star Wars program, and because of which I think that it was, I mean, official documents don't say this, but the whole idea during the Star Wars program was that if we have enough missile defense systems in the Middle East, okay, in the Middle East, normally it is called West Asia, but in the Middle East, then anything that would be fired from the Russian side can be actually intercepted and taken care of way before it can reach the United States. That was the whole idea. But because it ran over budget, so that whole plan was basically uh, ended. The whole program was canned, and it was replaced with what? Bunch of defense deals with the Middle East, that yeah, put your missile defense system here, put Patriot here, put THAAD here, all that mumbo jumbo. Okay, that's what the whole entire thing was after that. But it started with the whole idea that yeah, let's build lots of bases here in this region to counter the Soviets and Russians, or aka Russians, in case something happens. Okay, but Soviets and Russians showed a different capability. They said that, oh, okay, it's not just about the air defense. How you're going to have the torpedo defense? They have intercontinental torpedoes as well. So anyways, so those Patriot systems and all, they are dysfunctional, meaning that your equipment, your hardware is not reliable. People say the Chinese hardware is not good and this and that. Your hardware is not good either. Simply why? Because it has to be battle tested regularly. It has to be uh, you have to take it into disaster recovery mode to test it out regular intervals. From time to time you have to do the exercises and all in order to do all that, and that's never happened. Okay, now at this point, Now, the reason number four is because of all these air base attacks, air defense failures, then things being pointed to Israel. Israel's defense is the main focus here. So that creates the US unreliability among the allies. Okay. So Iran says that they actually made a mistake by accepting a ceasefire in June and that the US will restart the war anyway. That's what they believe. So they are going to do whatever they can to completely annihilate the whole entire thing. Okay. So if you look into it, you will find that uh, there is no reliability. In 2021, Afghanistan war withdrawal, Gulf states formally refused the airspace. Then, if you also notice that in 2022 or 2023, Gulf countries, Gulf countries simply said that Saudi Arabia, especially Saudi Arabia, said that they are not going to increase the oil production when Joe Biden asked. Remember the fist bump incident like that? So all these allies sitting in the Middle East, they don't consider Americans a reliable partner. Not even partner, but more so like allies, so called. So American reliability is under question, and it is actually to a certain point. After this, whatever is happening after this, American reliability will collapse. Okay, and when that happens, the foundation. Okay, now think about it. Think about it. The foundation of the Middle East was what? America and Middle East relationship. What was that? The foundation of America and Middle East relationship was the defense cooperation, where Americans said that they are going to protect Saudi Arabia. That's what the American Saudi Defense Pact actually was. So here, when we see all these things happening, Saudis, Aramco getting hit, Saudis bases are getting hit all over, then there is no defense, there is no protection. So when there is no protection, then what kind of defense pact is that? What's the point of having a defense pact? What's the point of allowing any base over there? In fact, that base is actually causing more problems to them than it is solving anything. I mean, if you are being attacked because of somebody who is defending you, then there is an even bigger problem, right? Think about it. And that's the message that these guys are getting now. So that's why US reliability will collapse after this, and it's gonna change the whole entire the construct in the Middle East altogether. Okay, and another situation is this: that Iran has rejected the ceasefire, and Iran is simply saying that ceasefire in June, also in June 2025, and basically it allowed the US to rearm and restart, and this time they are not going to make the same mistake, and they will just continue. Okay, China, India, Russia, Turkey, they all have called for ceasefire. Wang Yi, Chinese foreign minister, said that this is unacceptable. Putin said that Khamenei killing a murder. Then looks like I share the same thought as President Putin. Then Turkey's Erdogan, end of bloodbath, US diplomatically isolated. Now, and it is a diplomatic isolation from many levels. But then, since when Americans actually believe in diplomacy? They have these guys sitting there in suit and all that, but they don't know D of diplomacy, quite frankly. I mean, I don't know how Marco Rubio is surviving there. I have no idea. I mean, Marco Rubio, don't get me wrong. I mean, I like Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is a very smart guy, but unfortunately, within the US government setup, you have to be an ass kisser nowadays to survive over there. This ass kissing actually, it goes from all the way to the top, bottom to the top, all the way. That's the whole thing. That everybody is there. They all just kiss ass, and no performance, no quality, no nothing. On the name of quality, what they have done is that they come up with this nice looking research papers, documents they present that will look like, yeah, this is the ultimate thing. But the ground reality, when you actually go look at the things on the ground, then it's totally different from what's in the document. So we have a perception versus reality problem, that Americans have created this perception of being having a serious power, firepower, and this and that, all that perception that has been created, it is being tested at this point. Okay, so the outcome, yes, maybe. I mean, if this lasts longer, then of course, Iran compared to America or anybody else, there are like 4 or 5 other countries that are going to help the US and Israel. But before going down, Iran is going to take down some serious, a lot of them with it. Okay, and chances are that this will actually collapse, or I wouldn't say collapse, but this will definitely bring down the Middle Eastern countries and their economy as well. It's going to have some serious impact on this whole thing. So that makes me wonder that if all this is done to collapse the Middle Eastern economy, because of all the things that have been going on for all these years, that hey, if these countries become stronger, see, Israel, if you look into it, Israelis have some serious threat around them. They also realize that American hegemony and American firepower is going downhill. So, and then around them, there is Turkey, Saudi. They are working on trade corridors and they're working in the economic cooperation and all that. Then there is Qatar, Bahrain, all these countries that are working towards their own thing. And Israelis, they felt left out. So only way for Israel to survive over there will be to make these countries economically weak, if not destroy them completely. Do things that will make them economically weak, and then you can actually take the advantage. These are all just simple survival tactics. Okay. Now, so what exactly will happen? Now, so far what we have talked about. Now I'm getting into the end of this whole thing. Okay. We talked about 4 or 5 points, right? Number one was US manufacturing collapse. Number two was the American bases hit, meaning that there was no defense system, nothing that could protect them. That led to what? That led to the American credibility collapse in the region. The American credibility of what? Providing the net security, the net defense partnership, and all that. All that collapsed immediately. Why? Because the country that is supposed to protect you is bringing the war to your doorstep. So that created the problem. Fourth one was, let me look at it. The reliability collapse. Then after that, last one is this, and I talked about it too in this video, that if all this happens, the credibility collapse is there. So clearly, the way I'm seeing it is that uh, Middle East is not going to allow US to have bases over there. Why? Because then at least with that they have this guarantee that uh, nobody will bring the war to their doorstep. Whatever that is, they will manage accordingly. But I mean, that's yet to be seen. But at least that's what I am thinking. That my whole analysis is telling me that eventually, may not be in coming months, 1 or 2 months, but in couple of years, maybe next year, probably so, next year too, that they make then Middle East may come up with its own security architecture, and they may simply ask Americans to leave the bases, and they will give them ample time to move out. That's what is going to happen. And when that happens, okay, but let's talk about this. Okay, so when that happens, then what's going to happen? When that happens, then only thing that will be impacted by it will be the petrodollar. Saudis will immediately say that, okay, we are not bound to selling oil in dollar. We are not going to do that. Same thing with other Middle Eastern countries. They will be like, hey, whomever wants to work with us in the net trading, in national currencies and all that, yeah, let's move forward. Let's do that. And that will be the end of petrodollar as well. Just like I had explained this thing 3 years ago. Okay. Now, for those who don't know petrodollar, Saudi Arabia basically they price their oil in US dollars. The Gulf states recycle revenues into US treasuries. Then that US provides, and in return, what the US does, US provides military protection guarantee. then result is dollar equals to global reserve currency. That's how it became. I mean, I'm just telling you in a very shorter version of it. So US borrows cheap despite chronic deficit and all that. All right, sanctions equal to foreign policy weapon of choice. So they do all these things and then they apply these sanctions. And when dollar is gone, there will be no sanctions. There will be no sanction. None of that is gonna work. The question really is that if Middle Eastern countries they decide to do that, then US Treasury will have serious impact on it. Why? Because there will be no outside investments after that. And chances are that it may actually collapse the US economy as well. Then it's gonna actually reduce the American borrowing power. Because there's lots and lots of money they borrow from the Treasury and federal security bonds. All right, whatever the investment comes, that's called dollar recycling. I will make a video on dollar recycling too very soon. Now, so now let's look into what already has been broken. Okay, before this war in November 2025, Saudi 50-year petrodollar agreement expired, no renewals. Oil now open to yuan, euros, rupees. Then 57.8% dollar share of global reserve, multi-decade low down from 71% in 2008. This has been like this for quite frankly. It is 56.8. I think I typoed that thing over there. Then you have 682 billion China's US Treasury holding. China is withdrawing from it, down from 1.3 trillions in 2013, and rest is China buying the gold buying at World War II era pace. Same thing, India is doing the same thing. India is also buying gold and all that. And India is actually doing lots of things. I mean, let's just say that, right? And India is actually pushing its UPI and all that, payment systems and all that within Israel at this point. Okay. Then India has just signed the oil deal and natural gas deal and all that with Canada. I'm gonna work on the video too. Probably today also. I'm gonna work on that video and I'm going to publish that as well. That is a very important part. We'll get to that later on. Now, 45% of global oil output from BRICS Plus is that's the yuan denominated oil futures equals 10.5% of global crude volume. Okay, so that's how things are going to end. Even if you destroy Iran, it's gonna even be much worse. Why? Because the whole entire region becomes unstable. Who will take over? You cannot kill a regime from the by airstrikes and all that. Why? Simply because they will come back. There are other powers that are gonna help them rebuild. Chinese and Russians are watching it. The moment you do the foot on ground, lots of other countries are gonna get involved into it. Okay, they're not gonna allow that ground invasion type of thing. And in fact, I think that IRGC is not some piece of cake, some hillbilly style or some mountain jockey type of thing. IRGC is a formidable force. So that and that's not gonna require missiles or anything. You're gonna be dealing with tanks and other things. Okay, the question is that how much buildup you can put over there. What can Israelis actually handle at that point? That lots of things are there. So foot on the ground is a big no-no. If they did, I think that will be the final nail in the coffin of this whole US dollar and the hegemony. Okay, and I think that the reasons that I have told you about, that's how I think that if this war lasted a little bit longer, that's how things are gonna unfold. Meaning that eventually we will see a probably economic crisis. The situation hasn't even improved. We will run into another economic crisis, major one that is not going to fix on its own soon enough. So this is it for this video, guys. Please do like and subscribe, and please do help me, okay? And I will talk to you guys in another video. Take care.